She's a data engineer at the ports of Auckland. She will be sharing her thoughts on dissecting the dangers of deepfakes and their impact on reputation. She brings with her her experiences from ports, insurance, and healthcare. Please welcome Manvi.
Just testing the mic. Good morning, everyone. Morena. My name is Manvi and I'm a data engineer working for Port of Auckland. Today, I'll be talking to you about deepfakes. I was very intrigued to see yesterday that it kept coming up through examples, through multiple conversations. The people were asking, how do we know if something's real or if it's fake? So I'm really pleased to touch upon some of those things today with my talk today. But before I talk to you about deepfakes, let me walk you through some of the examples in popular media. If you have heard about the use of AI-based body doubles being used in Hollywood, then you have already heard about the use of deepfakes in Hollywood. If you have seen Meta's new AI-based chatbots that look and sound like your beloved celebrities, and then you may have already seen, heard, or probably interacted with deepfakes. If you saw the hashtag Balenciaga Pope go viral, then you have probably seen a pretty cool picture that's been generated using deepfakes. And if you have heard about the use of AI in the increasing imposture scams, then you have heard about the use of deepfakes in cyber crimes. And lastly, if you have heard about the use of AI-based news anchors that are being used to spread misinformation on social media platforms and can be used as agents of misinformation 24/7, then you have heard about the growing concerns of misinformation spread utilizing deepfakes. We live in a world today where we can no longer trust what our eyes can see and what our ears can hear. There is an erosion of trust and authenticity, and thanks to social media platforms, you can deploy hyper-potent pieces of content that are fake to millions and billions of people with just a single click. Why should the people in this room care about this? This is why. $10.5 trillion is the estimated amount that's predicted to be wiped away from global economy due to cybercrimes by 2025. Cybercrimes that are increasingly leveraging the imposting abilities that deepfakes grant them. So before we can talk about what the threats are posed by deepfakes and how do we go about comprehending some mitigation strategies, we need to understand a little bit about what this technology is capable of today. So let's start with what are deepfakes and what are they capable of. First things first, there are two words in there, deep and fake. The word deep comes from the technology that's been used to generate some of these, all of these pieces of content that are hyper-realistic. The name of the technology is deep learning, and it's a smaller subset within the broader AI umbrella. More specifically, the algorithm that's used to generate these pieces of content are called GANs. You don't need to remember the name, Generative Adversarial Networks. But what you need to know is they only came into the picture in 2014. So while AI has been here for a long time, this algorithm and this technology hasn't been around for a very long period of time. And the impact it's had on the pop culture, the impact it's having on the organizations and the world regulation around AI is massive. In fact, the term itself became popular in 2017 alone due to a subreddit when a user posted an X-rated video of a celebrity morphed utilizing deepfakes on Reddit, and they named the subreddit as deepfakes. That's where the term comes from. In fact, not long after that, there was a video posted by University of California, created by them, and has millions of views, which showcase Barack Obama saying some pretty interesting things about Donald Trump. Things that you and I know he will never say out loud in public. But the idea behind the video was to spread awareness of what deepfakes are capable of. Essentially, you can put words in anybody's mouth now. Question is, what are they being used for today? There are two use cases. They can be used to mimic fakes and they can be used to generate fakes. When I say generate fakes, I mean scenarios like where you feed the GANs a bunch of pictures of people and it can generate pictures of people that have never existed in this world. When I heard about this first time, at the University of Auckland during my studies, I was really fascinated, but I did not realize how I will see this technology explode and fill my news feeds on social media platforms. The other one is a more popular use case, which is mimicking fakes, where you use technologies like face swapping. I have two examples up on my screen. The first one is from a very popular social media account that I'll talk about again, where you can see the original actor, how they look like and how they look like with the deepfake of Tom Cruise on their face. The other example I have here is from a recent cybercrime against an Indian celebrity. Right before a movie is being released for her, she became a victim of a cybercrime where her face was used in a video. In certain cultural contexts, she may struggle to even find the right roles for her in the future because of the impact a fake video can have on her career. Question is, who are creating these deepfakes today? If I have to divide the people or the groups of people, there are 4 categories that emerge. The first are hobbyists, people who want to explore the art and technology and push the bounds of art using technology. Then we also have political agents who have found this technology to be really, really useful. Essentially, you have a piece of technology that's often targeted, that's often used to utilize the faces of people who are already influential and has some influence in a substantial audience. And you can ask them to, you can make them say or do anything you would like in these videos. So political activists have found the use of deepfakes to further their agendas by the use of social media. Then we also have cyber criminals leveraging this technology to pose. Sometimes people have received voice notes that sound like they are from their children to transfer money. The organization's security has been breached by deepfakes pretending to be the employees of the company, trying to gain access to the confidential data. And we also have media houses exploring this technology to de-age actors, to create scenarios that could provide closure to the stories, and even record scenes with actors that no longer work with the franchise. So if you look at the list, it's pretty 50-50. There are certain use cases that might be unethical, but there are some that are downright illegal. I touched upon briefly on the connection between deepfakes and social media, and it's a rather strong connection, so let's explore that one further. The first example I have is the one that I touched upon in my first couple of slides as well. This is an account on TikTok called Deep Tom Cruise. It's managed by a company called metaphysic.ai. They are at the forefront of deepfake innovation. I'm pretty sure when they started releasing these entertaining videos, they probably didn't think they'd go this big, and they would have had to have some really interesting conversations with Tom Cruise as well. At the time of my research, this account had 5.1 million followers and about 19.4 million likes. I can guarantee it's a lot more than that today. So that's my point about how deepfake-oriented content tends to go viral, because it uses somebody who already has influence, and it showcases them doing something that they probably wouldn't do. I'm pretty sure Tom Cruise wouldn't have acted in these sketches if he was asked to. And then when I saw these videos for the first time myself, I did not realize that these are fakes. But that's just me. I grew up watching a lot of Bollywood, not enough Hollywood. So I do not recognize that could probably not be Tom Cruise. It was the name of the account that gave it away for me. And there are others like Unreal Keanu and stuff on TikTok that you can see. The other example I have is a rather creepy one. Meta has announced, I think, 20-something chatbots that look and sound like your celebrities. The one I have up on my screen is that of Kendall Jenner. When I saw it for the first time, I didn't know if it's creepy and unreal in generic Jenner Kardashian way, or something else is going on with this. But they went for different personas for each of these chatbots. The one that Kendall Jenner's chatbot got was one of your ride or die sister. In fact, her video where she says that you can chat with me anytime, she says, the caption itself says, chatting with me is like talking to an older sister, just the one who cannot steal your clothes. My reaction to the video is the same as one of the users captured in the screenshot, that this is honestly scary. But if I look at this as an example, this isn't even remotely as concerning as some of the other examples I have. I'll go from left to right. The first picture up there is the one that went viral with the hashtag Balenciaga Pope. It showcases Pope Francis wearing a Balenciaga buffalo jacket. What's the problem with that, if you ask? The challenge is it's not real. We don't know if anybody consented to his picture being taken like that and being circulated on social media platforms. It actually emerged from one of the users on Reddit. There is a very strong connection between deepfakes and Reddit, I presume. And from there, the internet went crazy with it. It took a life of its own. The other example I have here, the second one, is the one that's the most grim. If two countries in the middle of the war, and you can showcase the leader of a country asking its people to drop their arms, now that's where I think all lines are crossed. This video was placed by hackers on a news portal, was quickly taken down, and if you even look at the video, it kind of gives it away, it looks fake because there are texture inconsistencies in the face and the neck. But imagine if there was more time spent on post-processing. Imagine in scenarios where this could have stayed up on the platform for a lot longer, the damage that could have done. And it's hard to say, even if in this scenario, if the damage was done or not. It's hard to evaluate. The last example I have up here is the use of AI-based news anchors as agents of misinformation. The challenge here is they don't have an ethical conscience, they don't dive away, they can spew up whatever you want them to say. And the most scary thing, they can be made to look like whoever you want them to look like. They can look like they're a representative from a minority group and can say things to them that would incite whatever violence. In scenarios where social media has been used to incite violence, it's not even a scenario that's up for debate anymore. Can that be done? It's already happened. Naturally, the risks from the spread of misinformation using deepfakes is political instability. People's reputation have been already damaged utilizing these deepfakes. One picture is enough to bring it all crumbling down. Stock market has already been manipulated. It was mentioned yesterday in one of the examples, and it has already been used extensively for identity theft. Now, we are not saying misinformation hasn't been an issue before deepfakes came into the picture. They were a problem before that even. It's just become more potent to spread misinformation, utilizing deepfakes because it's a more visual medium. It's more realistic to believe what the misinformation is being spread through that piece of content. And the other challenge we have at our hands is spreading a picture like that is extremely easy with social media platforms. They tend to go viral because it's just the nature of the algorithms to push everything that drives engagement further. And these kind of contents tend to drive engagement. They are polarizing by design. But taking it off the internet is hard. There are dedicated services today to even cache in your stories that are set to expire in 24 hours. So if you have above a certain follower count, and if you are a person with influence, even your stories can get cached by services. So you could be somebody who just posted a story, changed your mind 2 seconds later and wanted to take it down. It's too late. It's on the internet forever and you can't take it down. Naturally, the risks from deepfakes, the biggest risk for the organizations is their security. The organizations, because they are being extensively used in the cyber crimes. In fact, in 2022 alone, 2 out of 3 cybersecurity professionals saw the use of deepfakes in the malicious attacks being done. That was a 13% year-on-year increase. From 2022 to 2023, Q1 at least, we saw a significant rise in fraud in US, and especially in the online media space. And if you look at the other graph, in Q1 2023 alone, identity fraud, 3% of the pie is now utilizing deepfakes, and that's just growing as the technology becomes more accessible for people. Naturally, the risks are it can be used in targeted misinformation attacks towards the organizations to sever the ties that the organization has with the community to impact the brand image. It's already been used for stock market manipulation, and there are new articles in Forbes every other day talking about the financial frauds that are being invested, where somebody received a call from somebody that sounded like it was from the CFO, but it just wasn't, and money was moved, and now it's being investigated. Can definitely be used to get access to your confidential information. Yesterday it was discussed the crown jewels of your organization. If somebody can call your service desk and say, I am so-and-so employee, so-and-so team, and even sound like them, can you please change my password? Now they have access to your company's network and your confidential data as well. I talked quite a bit about the dangers of deepfakes, and it has been mentioned in multiple talks even yesterday, including today. So the next thing that I want to discuss is how might we go about managing some of the risks posed by this technology. So let's have a conversation about that. Spoiler alert, there are no silver bullets. But we can explore management strategies utilizing technology, education, and regulation. When I say utilizing technology to mitigate the risks from deepfakes, I mean using AI to beat AI. As GANs can be used to make deepfakes, they can also be used to make deepfake detection technology, and that's been already explored by the big tech. So hopefully, if in the future we live in a space where we have to be cautious of the use of deepfakes when people join us on a Microsoft Teams call for their interviews or for general meetings, we wouldn't have to worry about, hopefully there'd be solutions to detect that right away. Then automated cyber defense systems are being explored, are also exploring the use of AI, and especially the algorithms in the reinforcement learning space. Reinforcement learning is another subset within the broader AI space. And if I have to explain what they do to you, I would say reinforcement learning works the same way you would teach your child. If they clean their room, you reward them some way, and if they don't, you take away their iPad privileges or something. The same mechanisms work in reinforcement learning. So in case of automated cyber defense systems, if the system detects the patterns associated with the cybercrime correctly, the system is rewarded, and if it doesn't, it fails to, it gets penalized, and over time, with training enough instances, it'll get better and better at identifying some of those cybercrimes earlier on so that there's time to mitigate the risks. Then media authentication and digital watermarking mechanisms are being discussed globally, with Microsoft leading some of those conversations. The idea behind that is we want to be able to trace back where this piece of content or media originated from. So the idea is that we want to know if there was a person who pulled up a camera, recorded a video, put it on the internet, or was it an AI-based manipulated video that's been put on the internet. So just to manage the life cycle of that content so that we know where this piece of content originated from. There are conversations happening about that globally. The last thing to know in the technology space is most organizations already have multi-step identification protocols for people with elevated levels of access, just making sure that's fit for purpose. For instance, the service desk scenario I gave, at Port of Auckland itself, they have recently changed it. Now, if I call them and I say, I've lost my password, can you just reset it so that I can get access to my VPN again? They will authenticate that I am who I say I am, utilizing either my personal phone or email address, and they just wouldn't trust my voice in light of the increasing cybercrimes they're seeing in this space. So just making sure that we are regularly reviewing our multi-step identification protocols and cybersecurity principles to make sure the right people have access to our organization's networks. Now, even yesterday, there was a very strong theme about talking about the risks associated with AI and the role education and awareness would play into it. And I wholeheartedly agree this is the biggest piece of the puzzle here, more so than regulation, because I know regulation is a bigger piece too, but I think education of our employees to know where the risks are, whether your organization is adopting AI or Gen AI or not, irrespective of that, the employees they log off from their company's network, they go on social media platforms, so the risk is ever present. So there is a need for cybersecurity awareness and digital literacy. And when I say cybersecurity awareness and digital literacy, I just don't mean the digital literacy of the people in our teams, the people in the room. I don't mean the digital literacy of the digital teams, of the data teams, the AR innovation teams. That is important, but it's also important to take the people in the operational teams on that journey. So at Port of Auckland, when we talk about digital literacy, we just don't talk about us. We include our operational staff in it. It's a long-term investment in them that we believe is extremely, extremely important. So there's a need to have your operational staff, the front line, to be involved because your line of defense starts there. It doesn't start with the digital departments. Then there's a very important role for knowledge sharing on as quickly as the space is evolving. There is importance for cybersecurity to not just be a silo sitting in a corner. They have to be part of the discussions from the get-go. When you are setting your customer data platforms, when you are setting your CDPs up, when you are doing any new innovation, if there is security by design in those systems, then you wouldn't have to think about it as a tick box exercise. So there is a need to break silos within the organization as well. And outside, there is a need for collaboration within industry partners to share notes on what has worked, what has not worked. Because as quickly as the space is evolving, it's hard to keep tabs on everything that's happening. So I think collaboration amongst industry partners is really, really powerful. Now, we cannot have a conversation about risks associated with AI and not touch upon the regulation aspect of it. I was really impressed with all the insights I heard from Anjali yesterday. I was really keen to know about that myself. So we already heard a great deal yesterday about what's happening in the regulation space, in the AI space. And we all know the world is talking about it, the world's moving, and New Zealand will also do something in a really small space of time. The thing here to note is, what's our role? Why do we need to care about it? Once it comes into the picture, we'll think about it, but I do think there's a role for the data and AI innovators and leaders present in this room here. There is a need to advocate for the right settings within your organizations and probably outside. We heard the dichotomy of the approaches from Anjali yesterday. We heard that in the US, innovation, not stifling innovation is a priority, so the regulation is angling in that way. And then we have EU, who has where they have a lot of focus on individual rights. So the focus of regulation is associated with that. Now, even within our organizations, there is a balance to be achieved. Where is that line in the sand where we want to keep the innovation thriving, but we don't want the use of this technology in applications that would be downright harmful to the society? So there is a need to advocate for the right settings, and that reaching the right answers would be hard. But I do believe there's a room for open discourse amongst people from different backgrounds, different levels of involvement in the AI development, deployment, and management phases to have a say in where that line in the sand should be. There's a need to play a part in the public awareness campaigns. I know there's either a lot of magnetism by the use of, oh, let's use Gen AI, or there's a lot of fear that, oh, that's AI. The reality is somewhere in the middle, and I heard yesterday that there's a role that we have to play in demystifying AI so that the fear that's associated with it and the lack of awareness can kind of be taken away. There's definitely a need to strongly advocate for disclosure requirements by social media platforms, so that if there's a piece of content that utilizes deepfakes and they know about it in the background, they have already deployed policies and systems to monitor some of this. Even if the solutions are not fully fleshed out, there's a need to let the public know that this piece of content utilizes deepfakes or this piece of content is fine. There's definitely a need for international collaboration on this because this is a global problem, and local solutions for global problems would not address the situation. So there is a need for international collaboration. And I also want to touch briefly upon what's happening in the world. I'm pretty sure by the time I put these slides together, I dated this section last week. I'm probably already out of date. So there's a lot of movement in the regulation space right now due to deepfakes. Microsoft, Meta, and Google have already announced that they will protect political ad campaigns from deepfakes, which is a step in the right direction and a step that was extremely required after some of the instances that we have seen. Microsoft is also leading conversations around digital watermarking and media authentication protocols. One such protocol that's been discussed is C2PA. It's still relatively new. I'm also making my thoughts up on what I feel about it. It's very relatively new. So if you want to read up more on C2PA, just go to c2pa.org and have a read of the technical standard that is being proposed for all creators when they publish content. Then there are news agencies talking about deploying fact-checking units, but I think this has been something that's been discussed from when we noticed misinformation was a challenge to begin with. So a lot of movement in that space, so something to keep in mind that the world is already trying to take the right steps to protect the public and the interest of people. Now, I cannot in good conscience come on the stage, talk about deepfakes and not give you all some tools to protect your own personal brands and by proxy some of your organization's reputations as well. And this was brought up yesterday a lot, so I was pretty pleased that I decided to keep this part in my slides. How would you go about identifying and reporting deepfakes as they exist today? Please bear in mind before I go over any of these recommendations that they are evolving. When they first came into the picture, the deepfakes don't even used to blink. When the limitation was identified, they now do blink, but the blinking mechanism is still very, very off. And there are some other limitations that gives it away. For example, you can notice inconsistencies around the texture around the face. It almost looks like the makeup is blended on half part of the face and not on the other parts. You can see the texture of the skin on certain aspects, and you can see a very blurred and filtery effect, especially around the mouth. If it's a video, you can also notice sometimes the sync is off between the lip sync and the audio that you are hearing. The hair can look caricaturish, and there are inconsistencies even around accessories, around earrings or the necklace. So those are a few things to notice. And the one we saw in the other example, that there could be inconsistencies in the texture between the face and the neck. So that's one thing to focus on as well. If you think you are on a video call with somebody with a deepfake filter on, you can always ask them to turn left and right, and the filter will break. You can also ask them to move their hand in front of their face, and even in that scenario, the filter will break. I know those are extremely awkward ways to start a video conference, but better safe than sorry. And the last thing is, the content is the biggest giveaway. Like the Barack Obama video that I talked about in the beginning, the first example I shared, it was very nicely post-processed. I could have believed it was real had it not been for content. I knew that he's never going to say those things out in public, even if he's thinking about that. So content is the biggest giveaway. If something looks fishy, please make sure that before you trust it, you make sure that it's not fake. When we talk about audio-based deepfakes, thing to notice is that when we speak, when I'm speaking on the stage, there are some vocal cord features. There are features that have evolved because based on what languages I speak, if any infections or stuff happened for me in the beginning of my ages when I was evolving after puberty. There's a lot of vocal cord features that influence the way I speak, and there's a lot of training aspects. I'm intonating on stage and I'm doing other things. Those features are completely missing in audio, deepfaked audios. They sound very, very flat and monotonous. Probably how I sound like on days when I'm extremely tired. But that is the biggest giveaway, and that's also a method that's been used to generate deepfake detection technologies for audio-based deepfakes. So hopefully we will have solutions for that soon as well. The last thing I want to cover before I wrap up and open the floor for questions is how do you report deepfakes? If you sadly have seen yourself, somebody that looks like you or somebody you care about in one of the videos that you think could be digitally harmful, how would you go about reporting them? I know that's a very unfortunate scenario to be in. I've heard of some people being targets of cyber crimes and scams myself in my network, and it's a really daunting situation to be in to navigate. So I definitely wanted to include this section to know what can you do if for some reason you are in that situation. First things first, make a note about everything, where you saw the piece of content, did somebody send it out to you as a form of blackmail, what time, who posted it, what platform, all of that is important to navigate when we're trying to get this piece of content taken down. Now, important to know that most social media platforms have policies regarding digitally harmful content, and especially around deepfakes, deepfaked digitally harmful content. You can ask the mods and administrators to take it down. Then in New Zealand in particular, you can report digitally harmful content, whether it's deepfake oriented or not, to NetSafe. You can report any cyber criminal offense as an individual or as an organization to CERT New Zealand. And then if things really do go out of hand, there are legal actions that you can pursue. I think Anjali covered some of that scenario really well yesterday. What are the existing laws that already apply to the situation? You don't have to wait for an AI Act to be enabled to pursue a legal action. I'll quickly wrap up now. To effectively tackle the risks posed by deepfakes as they exist today, deploying a multifaceted approach utilizing technology, education, and regulation is probably our best bet. Unfortunately, there are no silver bullets. Thank you so much for listening to me. I'm happy to take questions now.